All right, buckle up, because today we're peeling back the layers on something truly wild, something you probably remember as just a fleeting, maybe goofy, ice-cold memory from about, what, a decade ago? We're plunging headfirst into a phenomenon so widespread, so, seemingly simple, that it feels almost absurd to suggest it reshaped the internet as we know it. But as you know here on The Deep Dive, the surface level is never the full story.
That's absolutely right. Today, our focus is the Ice Bucket Challenge. Now, for most people, it probably conjures images of, celebrities drenching themselves or maybe a friend nominating you on Facebook, all for a good cause. And it was for a good cause.
Yeah.
But our mission for you today is really to unpack how this seemingly simple act from the summer of 2014 became this, unintentional pivotal moment in internet history. We're going to reveal how it wasn't just a fundraising juggernaut, though it certainly was that.
Oh, definitely.
But something far bigger. It was a catalyst, really.
Yeah.
A living, breathing social experiment that quietly yet profoundly reshaped critical aspects of our digital world.
It's incredible, isn't it, when you actually stop and think about it? How could the simple, chilly act of nominating a few friends to get drenched possibly transform fundraising forever? How did it fundamentally alter the very algorithms that govern our social media feeds? Influencing what we see, what gets amplified, how we interact every single day.
Yeah, and what about the meteoric rise of influencer culture?
Yeah.
And that intricate, sometimes pretty messy dance of modern activism.
Exactly. This single challenge, this cold, wet dare that honestly felt like pure, unadulterated fun at the time, it actually laid some serious, quite unexpected groundwork for the hyper-connected digital world we navigate every single day now.
It truly serves as a fascinating, almost accidental case study. A way to view the rapid evolution of online behavior, technology, even human psychology in the digital age. I invite you, just cast your mind back to 2014. Can you recall the sheer ubiquity of those videos? They were absolutely everywhere.
Oh yeah, unavoidable.
Maybe you were swept up in the wave yourself. Maybe you nominated a friend, or perhaps you just sat back and watched as, everyone from your grandma to Bill Gates braved the ice. It genuinely felt like the entire planet was getting drenched for a few weeks there. As you remember that moment, consider this. How could something so seemingly straightforward hold such complex, lasting lessons? Lessons about the mechanics of virality, the hidden influence of technology, and, the peculiar quirks of human nature itself. Because believe it or not, the Ice Bucket Challenge was a silent teacher. It left a lasting mark that continues to influence our online landscape in surprising and sometimes, unsettling ways.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our story, like all good stories, sort of kicks off with an individual. In this case, a truly inspiring figure right at its heart, Pete Frates. Now, back in 2012, Pete, a former collegiate baseball player, a man who really embodied strength and athleticism, he received an incredibly difficult diagnosis: amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS.
Right. And for those who might not be familiar, ALS, often known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a progressive neurodegenerative disease. It just relentlessly attacks the nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord. This leads to the gradual loss of muscle control. It's devastating. It robs individuals of their ability to move, speak, swallow, and eventually even breathe, while often leaving their minds completely intact.
Such a cruel disease.
It really is. And it was Pete Frates who became one of the central figures, almost an accidental orchestrator, you could say, in propelling this challenge from just a local act into a global phenomenon. The initial concept, as it was presented to Frates, was wonderfully unassuming, almost comically simple, really.
Yeah, what was it originally?
It came from a friend's idea, basically.
Huh.
You could either pour a bucket of ice water over your head, or you could donate to ALS research. Or, ideally, you'd do both. There was this inherent innocence to it at the start. A straightforward, almost whimsical act, seemingly designed for just a bit of lighthearted fun among friends. A goofy dare for a good cause. No one, absolutely no one, not in their wildest dreams, could have predicted the tidal wave it was about to unleash.
And that's what makes what happened next so utterly incredible. You have this humble local act born out of this genuine desire to support a cause so close to Pete Frates' heart. It starts as a ripple, right? In a small community, just a few friends daring each other. But then, almost overnight, the internet just exploded.
It really did.
Suddenly, this charmingly simple dare wasn't just a ripple, it became a global wildfire. It wasn't confined to your neighbor's backyard or your cousin's Facebook feed anymore. The biggest names on the planet were jumping in, drenching themselves, often with probably hilarious results. Mark Zuckerberg, the architect of Facebook itself, soaked on camera. Oprah Winfrey, a titan of media, took the plunge. And Bill Gates, Remember Bill Gates?
Yeah.
Ever the innovator, he famously engineered this elaborate pulley system to make sure his ice bucket dump was executed with maximum dramatic effect. A little nerdy, maybe.
Definitely a bit nerdy, but memorable. And what's truly fascinating here, maybe even more than the celebrity spectacle, is that while these high-profile people undoubtedly got immense attention and amplified the challenge, the real power, the foundational power of the phenomenon, it lay in the millions of ordinary people who joined in.
That's a great point.
From school kids making videos in their backyards, to grandmothers bracing for the cold splash, from small towns in America to huge cities in Asia. A collective global phenomenon just emerged. It transcended geographical boundaries, age groups, social strata. It was truly everywhere, permeating our social feeds and, those water cooler conversations at work.
And this leads us right to the central question, the one we, and hopefully you listening, are pondering as you hear this. But why? Why this challenge? Why then? What was it about this specific, slightly absurd act at this particular moment in internet history that allowed it to achieve such unprecedented, explosive virality? It wasn't just luck, was it?
No, definitely not just luck. It was in fact a perfect storm of elements. A design so elegantly simple, yet devastatingly effective, that it basically laid the blueprint for what we now understand as a truly viral phenomenon. It was quite literally the anatomy of a perfect viral formula.
Right.
Indeed. And what's truly insightful here, I think, is that the core secret to its success, it actually had very little to do with the temperature of the water or even initially the profound underlying cause. It was all about the format. The Ice Bucket Challenge wasn't just a trend, it was an accidental masterclass in designing a perfectly replicable, infinitely shareable digital act. It provided this clear, step-by-step blueprint for viral phenomena that is still, often maybe unconsciously, being replicated today across countless platforms and trends.
Okay, so let's break down this perfect viral formula because it's surprisingly elegant in its simplicity, yet, devastatingly effective in its impact. First off, you had the nominate 3 people rule. This wasn't just the suggestion, was it? It was an ingenious built-in network effect. A self-propagating chain reaction.
Exactly, like a digital pyramid scheme, as you said, but for a good cause this time.
Right. Once you were nominated, you felt that direct, personal, social pressure. It wasn't just some general call to action broadcast out there. It was specific, personal, from someone you knew, someone in your immediate social circle. This created an incredibly strong incentive to participate and, in turn, nominate others, exponentially expanding its reach with every single completed challenge. It was like brilliantly designed social contagion.
That's spot on. And what's fascinating is how it leveraged pre-existing social ties. You weren't just sharing content with random strangers, you were directly tagging and challenging your friends, your family, colleagues, maybe even your boss. This personal connection dramatically increased the likelihood of participation. The social pressure was just an incredibly powerful engine.
Yeah, you didn't want to be the one who didn't do it.
Exactly. If your friend did it and bravely challenged you and you didn't respond, it could feel like a subtle slight, a lack of solidarity, especially when everyone else seemed to be joining in. This social proof mechanism, just observing the behavior of your peers, was incredibly potent. It turned a simple dare into, almost a social obligation for many people. It was a brilliant move to bake that personal responsibility right into the challenge itself.
Then you had the second crucial component, film yourself. Now, back in 2014, video content was gaining traction on social media, places like Facebook, but it hadn't yet become the absolute default it is today.
Not quite, no.
The Ice Bucket Challenge capitalized on this perfectly. People didn't just talk about doing it, they showed themselves doing it. This not only provided undeniable, irrefutable proof of participation, but also tapped into the unparalleled power of visual storytelling. Video is just inherently more engaging, right? More visceral than text or a static image. You could see the reactions, the shock, the laughter, the gasps. You could hear the shouts and the splashes.
You could almost feel the cold.
Exactly. You could vicariously feel that biting cold. This made the content incredibly sticky, incredibly shareable, and intensely relatable. It was like raw, unedited reality TV playing out in real time across your feed.
The visual element was, without a doubt, critical. It felt authentic, it was unpolished, and it was deeply human. Viewers could instantly relate to the discomfort, the genuine laughter, the sheer fun, and sometimes, the sheer awkwardness of the moment. This raw, user-generated video content felt far more trustworthy and engaging than, say, a professionally produced ad or some polished campaign video. And it democratized participation, didn't it? It made the act feel accessible and utterly real for anyone with a smartphone, which by 2014 was a lot of people globally.
Which leads right into the third equally vital part of the formula: upload it. Back in 2014, with smartphones becoming ubiquitous and social media interfaces getting more user-friendly, uploading a short video was incredibly easy.
Super easy.
You didn't need fancy editing software. You didn't need to transfer files to a computer. You didn't even need a stable Wi-Fi connection in many cases. You could film it on your phone, open your Facebook app, which was, let's face it, the dominant platform then, and share it instantly with your entire network. This ease of sharing meant there were virtually no technical barriers to entry. Anyone could participate and anyone could share. That led to instant, widespread public visibility for every single challenge completed. It was just frictionless virality.
This point on accessibility is absolutely crucial for understanding the challenge's unprecedented scale. If a trend requires complex tools, specific skills, or significant effort, its potential for widespread adoption and rapid spread is severely limited. The Ice Bucket Challenge brilliantly simplified the act down to its bare essentials. It made participation frictionless and universally achievable. This low barrier to entry allowed it to proliferate globally at an astounding, almost unbelievable rate. It didn't just spread, it exploded because everyone, literally everyone, could do it.
And finally, the public proof aspect. By filming and uploading their experience, participants were creating this indisputable public evidence of their participation. This wasn't just about showing off, although, let's be honest, a little bit of that was probably at play.
Sure.
It was about social accountability. If you were nominated and you didn't do it, or at least acknowledge it with a donation, there was a public record, a visible gap in the chain. This public display of participation fueled compliance and generated even further nominations. It became this virtuous cycle of challenge and fulfillment, all played out in the open. You could see who did it, who nominated whom, and the chain just continued, endlessly reinforcing itself. It created this powerful, collective, shared experience that was continuously reinforced by public display, like a FOMO loop that was almost impossible to resist.
Precisely. This brilliant combination of elements, the direct nomination, the highly visual and authentic video format, the ease of sharing, and the public accountability, it led to immediate intense interactions, likes, shares, comments pouring in. The algorithms of social media platforms, even back then, were already designed to favor content that generated high levels of interaction. So the Ice Bucket Challenge, with its built-in nomination system, raw video format, ease of sharing, and public display, it created an engagement goldmine for these platforms. Every single video was a potential conversation starter, a prompt for thousands of engagements, effectively teaching the algorithms what kind of content truly resonated with users.
And that, when you break it down like that, it sounds an awful lot like TikTok trends today, doesn't it?
It really does.
Think about it. Short-form video, challenge-based content, nominating friends, instant sharing, public proof. It's almost uncanny, like the Ice Bucket Challenge was a crystal ball looking into our digital future.
Absolutely. What's truly fascinating here is how the Ice Bucket Challenge, without any deliberate intention, almost perfectly prototyped the core mechanics that now dominate platforms like TikTok a decade later. It underscored and reinforced the foundational role of short, shareable, challenge-based content in achieving modern virality. It showed us unequivocally that user-generated content, driven by social pressure and fueled by simple, repeatable formats, is an incredibly potent force online. It was a precursor, wasn't it? An accidental foundational lesson in what truly goes viral, why it goes viral, and how those viral loops can be sustained. It was, in essence, the beta test for the entire short-form video challenge economy we live in now.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, and maybe for some, potentially a little unsettling. This whole phenomenon, which seemed so innocent and grassroots, fundamentally about people helping people, it had a hidden beneficiary. And get this, it made Facebook richer, not even kidding.
Yeah, it sounds almost absurd when you first hear it, right? But the sheer volume of data, the unprecedented flow of highly engaging content just rushing through the platform during the Ice Bucket Challenge. It was like an unscheduled, massive, and incredibly valuable gift to their developers. It was like getting a free, global, live laboratory to study human behavior at scale.
Wow.
What's truly fascinating, or perhaps concerning, depending on your view, is how Facebook reportedly seized on the Ice Bucket Challenge as this massive, real-world experiment. Imagine it, a perfect, organic, self-sustaining surge of highly engaging, user-generated video content, all with built-in social sharing, direct challenges, clear calls to action. For a platform that was rapidly trying to optimize its algorithms for engagement and time on site, this was nothing short of a dream scenario for real-time testing.
So they could just watch.
They could observe in real time how millions of users around the globe interacted with this specific, highly potent type of content. They learned precisely what made users spend more time on the platform. They learned what prompted them not just to passively consume, but to actively share, and what spurred them to participate and create their own content. This wasn't just passive observation. It was active learning on an unprecedented scale.
So effectively, Facebook was watching us, learning from our collective enthusiasm, our social pressure, our desire to participate, and subtly, yet profoundly, refining its core mechanisms and predictive models based on our very human responses. That's a little chilling when you think about it that way.
Precisely. And the implications of this kind of real-world, large-scale A/B testing are profound. They continue to ripple through platform design today. It's widely believed, for instance, that Facebook learned to prioritize video content far more heavily after the Ice Bucket Challenge, recognizing its unparalleled power for engagement and, well, stickiness. They likely refined how they promoted social sharing, maybe by giving higher algorithmic weight to posts with direct mentions or challenges, and how direct user challenges could be amplified to reach even wider audiences. This inadvertently, or perhaps quite intentionally, shaped the engagement loop we experience on platforms like Facebook and Instagram today. The challenge acted as a powerful catalyst, accelerating the platform's understanding of what truly drives interaction, retention, and ultimately ad impressions.
And the money side for them.
Oh, definitely. From an economic standpoint, this meant a dramatic increase in user time spent on the platform. More eyeballs, more time equals more opportunities for advertising exposure. And crucially, richer, more granular user data for targeted advertising campaigns. All of this, completely unforeseen by the participants dumping ice water, was directly driven by the viral activity of the Ice Bucket Challenge.
So this raises an important, almost philosophical question. If the algorithms were learning from us, how did our behavior, driven by this challenge, then feed back into those algorithms, creating an even more potent, self-reinforcing loop? It sounds like a perfect feedback system, constantly optimizing itself.
That's exactly where the concept of the engagement loop truly comes into its own. The Ice Bucket Challenge's format, nominate, record, share, it didn't just exploit platform mechanisms, it perfectly amplified them. When someone uploaded a video, it wasn't just another piece of content. It was highly engaging, often emotionally resonant, immediately drawing comments, likes, shares.
Right.
The algorithms, already designed to show users more of what they engage with, identified these Ice Bucket Challenge videos as extremely valuable content. So what did they do? They responded by amplifying their reach, pushing them further into people's feeds, giving them prime real estate. This increased visibility, in turn, spurred more people to feel that social pressure to participate, record their own video, nominate others.
Creating more content for the algorithm.
Exactly. Thereby creating more new content for the algorithm to identify as valuable and amplify further, completing this self-reinforcing, almost hypnotic loop. It was a masterclass in how user action and platform response become just inextricably linked in a digital ecosystem.
So platforms like Facebook weren't just passively observing, they were actively facilitating the challenge's spread by favoring content that fit this incredibly effective engagement model. That's a crucial distinction, isn't it? What specific long-term lessons do you think platforms took from this massive organic user behavior that continue to influence their design and priorities today? It almost feels like the challenge was an unwitting blueprint for how to engineer virality.
It absolutely was in many ways. The primary lesson, I think, was that highly visual, emotionally resonant, and socially competitive content generates unprecedented levels of engagement, period. This taught them to further prioritize video across their platforms, to integrate sharing mechanisms even more deeply into the user experience, and to recognize the immense power of direct challenges and social proof. Today, these principles are literally baked into the core design of every major social media platform. The Ice Bucket Challenge showed them the true monetary value of fostering a culture of, well, performative sharing and instant gratification. It also profoundly influenced their understanding of how quickly trends can emerge and saturate a network, pushing them to develop faster, more sophisticated content distribution systems and real-time trending topic algorithms. It effectively served as a massive, free-of-charge user behavior study that informed years, if not a decade, of platform development and monetization strategies.
Okay, moving on from the fascinating, if maybe a little unsettling, insights into algorithms and tech giants. Let's bring it back to what was, for most people, the primary and undoubtedly the most noble purpose of the challenge: raising funds for ALS research. This was, after all, why Pete Freitz and so many others enthusiastically embraced it. This was the beating heart of the whole movement.
And that's an absolutely critical point to underscore. The Ice Bucket Challenge unequivocally raised an undeniable, record-breaking amount of money. Within just a matter of weeks, roughly July to August 2014, it brought in over $115 million for the ALS Association alone in the United States. That's a staggering sum.
It's incredible numbers.
It far exceeded any previous fundraising efforts by like an order of magnitude. To put that in perspective, their annual budget was typically around $20 million. This significant financial boost directly supported critical research initiatives, including, importantly, the identification of new genes linked to ALS, which is a major scientific breakthrough. But perhaps just as importantly, it propelled ALS from being a relatively obscure disease into the global spotlight. It vastly increased public awareness.
That awareness piece is huge.
Huge. Before the challenge, many people had never even heard of ALS. Suddenly, it was a household name, a topic of conversation on every news channel, every social feed. This awareness alone was truly invaluable for a community that had historically felt, frankly, marginalized and underfunded.
But as with anything that reaches such a massive global scale, there were inevitable criticisms, complexities. Nothing is ever purely one-sided, right? Can you walk us through the good, the bad, and the misused of the ALS fundraising numbers? Give us that more nuanced view.
Certainly. As we just discussed, the good is undeniable. The sheer volume of funds raised and the unprecedented global awareness. This allowed for significant investments in cutting-edge research. For example, the funds helped push forward Project Mine, a global genomics initiative aiming to sequence the genomes of 15,000 ALS patients. It's massive.
Wow.
This effort directly led to the discovery of new ALS-related genes like NEK1 and C21 or F2, opening up entirely new avenues for drug development and therapeutic strategies. It's hard to overstate the scientific acceleration this provided.
Okay, so that's the clear positive. What about the bad?
However, there were certainly the bad aspects, or at least criticisms. Critics quickly pointed out the potential for some funds, especially within larger, more established organizations, to maybe be misdirected or absorbed by administrative costs rather than going directly to frontline research. Now, the ALS Association published detailed breakdowns of how funds were used, but such large, sudden influxes can pose management challenges for any organization. Furthermore, a significant criticism, especially as the challenge dragged on, was the potential for participants to become more focused on the performance aspect. The act of dumping the water, nominating friends.
Right, the fun part.
And to skip the crucial donation step.
Yeah.
Many viral participants, particularly maybe in the later stages, might have completed the public act without ever actually contributing financially. That dilutes the charitable intent for some segments of the public, you could argue.
So it became more about the spectacle and the social signal than the actual financial contribution for a segment of participants. That makes sense.
Exactly. And this leads us to what could be considered the misused aspects, or perhaps the problematic side effects of the phenomenon. Some criticisms revolved around the allocation of resources and the inherent nature of viral philanthropy. While a huge sum was raised, debates arose about whether all of it went to the most impactful or most promising research, or if some was spread too thin across various initiatives, or even diverted to less critical areas. It's hard to manage that much money effectively overnight. There was also the concern about the transient nature of charitable giving tied to viral trends. While the initial surge was massive and groundbreaking, sustaining that level of interest and donation, that proved incredibly difficult once the viral novelty wore off.
The spotlight moves on fast.
Very fast. This raises fundamental questions about the long-term impact and sustainability of such flash mob philanthropy versus, say, sustained, deliberate fundraising efforts. It's a double-edged sword. Immense immediate benefit, sure, but potential for superficial engagement or strategic challenges in resource management if not handled with extreme care.
Building on that idea of performance, the massive impact of the Ice Bucket Challenge was undeniably amplified when celebrities across every conceivable field joined in. Pop stars, politicians, A-list actors, sports legends. Their participation gave the trend incredible, unprecedented reach, and in a way, it legitimized it for the mainstream, didn't it? When someone like Bill Gates engineered his elaborate pulley system for his video, it wasn't just a video, it was a global statement, a viral moment instantly etched into internet lore.
This is precisely where we delve into the complex and often debated concept of performative activism, or as some call it, charity theater. When an act of charity becomes performative, it suggests that the primary motivation, or maybe just the most visible outcome, might be more about the public image, the accumulation of social credit, or the individual's public display of virtue.
Look at me being good.
Kind of, yeah. Rather than a deep, sustained commitment to the cause itself. For celebrities, this dynamic can be particularly pronounced. Their actions are instantly magnified, scrutinized, often emulated by millions of followers. Their participation, while massively amplifying reach, also opens the door to questions about authenticity.
So the core criticism would be that some celebrities, or maybe even ordinary participants, might have been more focused on the likes, the shares, the public adoration, or simply showing they were doing good on social media rather than genuinely caring about ALS or making a tangible donation, or even really understanding the disease.
Precisely. The act of dumping water on one's head is visually compelling. It's easily shareable, and it's relatively low effort compared to, say, long-term volunteering or advocacy. It allows for a public display of solidarity, a quick virtue signal, without necessarily requiring deep engagement with the complexities of the disease or a sustained financial commitment. The criticism isn't that these acts are inherently bad, far from it, as we've seen the immense positive impact. Rather, it's that they might prioritize the appearance of action or solidarity over the substance of it. It becomes a form of virtue signaling, where the public display is the primary goal rather than a means to a deeper end. The Ice Bucket Challenge became a prime example for this discussion, long before the term performative activism became so commonplace online.
This raises an incredibly important ethical question, one that continues to resonate today. Even if participation was, in some cases, performative, even if the primary motivation was self-promotion or social validation, did it still contribute to the greater good of awareness and fundraising? Does the motivation truly matter if the outcome for the cause is positive? Where do you land on that?
That is absolutely the crux of the debate, and honestly, it's not an easy one to answer definitively. There are strong arguments on both sides. From a purely utilitarian perspective, you could say yes. If the performance led to millions of dollars in donations and unprecedented awareness for ALS, then the outcome was undeniably overwhelmingly positive. The ALS Association itself certainly benefited immensely, arguably more than any traditional campaign could have achieved in such a short time.
Hard to argue with $115 million.
Exactly.
Yeah.
However, the ethical considerations arise when we think about the authenticity of engagement and the potential for these kinds of viral trends to overshadow more difficult, sustained, and frankly, less glamorous forms of activism or charitable work. While it generated a huge, unforgettable splash, it also highlighted how easily public attention can be captured and then just as quickly dissipate, leaving the long-term grinding work of advocacy and research still to be done by a dedicated few. It became a powerful case study in how public visibility can both empower and complicate charitable efforts. It forces us to consider if the fleeting glory of virality can truly replace persistent, dedicated engagement. It's a tough balance.
When something goes as big as the Ice Bucket Challenge, and it proves such an effective mechanism for capturing global attention, the rise of copycat trends is almost inevitable, isn't it? It's like discovering a secret formula for attention, and everyone wants a piece of that pie.
That's incredibly true. Once a mechanism for virality is proven successful, others will quickly try to replicate it, often with varied levels of success, and unfortunately, sometimes with profoundly negative and unintended consequences. We've seen examples ranging from the relatively harmless to the truly dangerous, all attempting to bottle that same lightning. The sources for our deep dive mention things like planking. Remember that?
Oh man, planking. I remember that. People lying face down in the weirdest public places, taking pictures. On lampposts, shopping carts. It was a whole thing. Mostly harmless.
Mostly harmless, yeah. It was about novelty, creating a surprising visual, a momentary shared laugh, simple fun. And then, at the far more concerning end of the spectrum, you have truly alarming examples like the Tide Pod Challenge, where people, often teenagers, were encouraged to ingest laundry detergent pods.
Yeah, that was awful.
Truly awful. It highlights the darker, far more dangerous side of virality, where the desire for attention or simply the urge to participate in a shared cultural moment can override common sense, basic safety, and lead to serious, even life-threatening harm. It really exposes the double-edged sword of viral participation.
So what are the underlying psychological drivers behind these copycat phenomena? Is it just about going viral, or is there something deeper, something more primal at play in human behavior that draws us to these trends, good or bad?
It's definitely multifaceted. It taps into several core human desires, I think. There's a strong innate desire for social connection and validation. Humans are inherently social creatures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Participating in a popular trend offers a powerful sense of belonging to a shared cultural moment. It's a way to feel relevant, to be in on it, to be part of the collective conversation.
Feeling connected.
Exactly. Then there's the powerful dopamine hit of immediate positive feedback, the likes, the comments, the shares, that reinforces the behavior and makes us crave more. Instant gratification. For some, particularly younger demographics maybe, it's also about seeking attention, carving out a fleeting moment of internet fame, or even just expressing individuality within a collective framework. The Ice Bucket Challenge primarily tapped into a positive social norm helping others, bravery, but the underlying mechanisms of nomination, performance, sharing, they're neutral. They are universal triggers that can be applied to anything, for good or ill.
This brings us to a bigger, almost existential question in the digital age. What happens to viral trends when the internet inevitably moves on? Because it always does, right? No trend lasts forever, no matter how explosive it seems at the time.
Inevitably. Every meme, every viral trend has a discernible life cycle, much like a living organism, you could say. It begins with a rapid, often explosive ascent, where it captures public imagination and spreads exponentially, seemingly overnight. It then reaches a peak where it feels like it's absolutely everywhere, unavoidable, saturating every corner of your online experience. Remember how you couldn't escape ice bucket videos?
Totally.
And then, just as inevitably, it enters a phase of decline. Novelty wears off, saturation sets in, and new shiny trends emerge to capture collective attention. The internet has a short memory. Some fade into complete obscurity, becoming just footnotes in the vast ephemeral history of the internet. While others, a select few, endure as genuine cultural touchstones referenced years later.
What then makes something sticky versus ephemeral? What's the meme psychology if that's a thing that determines longevity in the digital realm? Why do some last and others just vanish?
It's a complex interplay of factors, but several elements consistently contribute to a trend's stickiness and longevity, I think. Trends that are easily adaptable and allow for creative interpretations often last longer. They can evolve and stay fresh with continuous user input and reinvention. Think about long-running meme formats, trends that tap into universal human emotions. Humor, empathy, outrage, nostalgia tend to have more staying power because they resonate deeply on a fundamental level. Simplicity, as we saw with the Ice Bucket Challenge, is absolutely key for rapid initial spread. But for true longevity, there often needs to be a deeper resonance, a clear ongoing utility, or a continuous stream of fresh, engaging content derived from the core idea.
So what made the Ice Bucket Challenge stick, at least in memory?
Well, it became sticky because it had that clear, noble, and undeniable purpose fighting ALS. It was easy to replicate, allowing for widespread participation. And crucially, it involved a relatable physical act that was both funny and a little uncomfortable, providing both entertainment and a powerful feel-good element from the donation aspect. It hit that rare sweet spot. Purpose, participation, and personality.
And crucially, amidst all this discussion of algorithms, virality, and performative philanthropy, we absolutely need to bring the conversation back to the human element, back to the original profound purpose of the challenge. This wasn't just an internet phenomenon. It was about a devastating disease and the real people battling it every single day.
Absolutely. It's vital to conclude with the reactions from ALS survivors and the Freight's legacy, ensuring that our focus returns to the tangible impact on the disease and its community. Despite any criticisms about performative aspects or the transient nature of viral trends, the overwhelming sentiment from the ALS community and survivors like Pete Freitz, who sadly passed away in 2020 due to complications from the disease, has been one of immense, profound gratitude.
That's important to hear.
The challenge provided a level of funding and public awareness that was previously unimaginable for such a relatively rare neurodegenerative disease. This has led to direct, tangible, and overwhelmingly positive contributions.
Can you elaborate on those tangible impacts? Because the money alone is huge, obviously, but beyond the sheer financial influx, what else was the lasting legacy for the ALS community?
Well, the funds raised have directly supported groundbreaking research, leading to new scientific discoveries that were previously stalled simply due to lack of funding. We talked about Project Mine and the identification of specific genes linked to ALS. This knowledge is absolutely crucial for understanding the disease mechanisms, developing targeted treatments, and ultimately finding a cure. Researchers gained an unprecedented amount of data and resources to accelerate their work.
That's incredible progress.
And beyond the research, the awareness it generated was transformative. More people than ever before understood what ALS was. That helped reduce the stigma often associated with lesser-known illnesses and significantly increased empathy and public support. It mobilized entire communities, led to increased advocacy efforts, and fostered a profound sense of hope and solidarity within the patient community and among their families. Pete Freitz's family has consistently and eloquently spoken about how the challenge fundamentally changed the trajectory of ALS research and awareness. It gave patients and their families newfound optimism and expanded support networks. It truly left a lasting positive contribution, allowing the disease and its community to be seen, heard, and supported on an unprecedented scale, which, despite all the algorithmic complexities and debates, is the ultimate and most important legacy of the Ice Bucket Challenge.
So after this deep dive into the Ice Bucket Challenge's multifaceted legacy, let's fast forward to today. It's 2025 now. What do you think we still haven't quite learned about virality, even after witnessing something as potent and paradigm-shifting a decade ago?
That's a crucial reflection point, isn't it? Despite the Ice Bucket Challenge providing this, like masterclass in the mechanics of virality, we still grapple with understanding how to consistently control or harness its immense, often unpredictable power. It remains largely elusive. We can identify elements that contribute to virality, sure, but replicating its exact magic, time and again, incredibly difficult, almost impossible. More importantly, perhaps, we still struggle with mitigating its negative consequences, especially when a trend shifts from harmless fun to dangerous or even deadly behavior, like we saw with some of those copycat challenges.
Right.
There's also the ongoing challenge of sustaining momentum for important causes beyond the initial viral explosion. How do you convert that fleeting attention into lasting commitment, deep engagement, and sustained financial support? That's a question that philanthropy, activism, everyone is still grappling with.
So if you were to boil it down, what are the biggest, most pressing, unanswered questions about virality that the Ice Bucket Challenge exposed and which we're still dealing with as we navigate today's digital landscape?
Well, one major question that still haunts us is, how do we ensure that genuine substantive impact consistently outweighs superficial performance in an age where everything seems designed to go viral? How do we prioritize real change over transient public displays? Another is how platforms, as these increasingly powerful arbiters of information and trend amplifiers, can responsibly manage and even anticipate viral trends, especially those that carry significant risks to public health or safety. What's their role? And perhaps most fundamentally, how do we as users become more discerning, more critical consumers of viral content? How do we learn to distinguish between genuine calls to action and fleeting opportunities for attention, entertainment, or just a quick social media boost? The Ice Bucket Challenge showed us the immense, almost terrifying power of the crowd, but it also highlighted its potential for fickle, short-lived attention.
Let's end with a truly fascinating hypothetical, one that really makes you think about how quickly our digital world changes. We've talked about how the Ice Bucket Challenge unwittingly foreshadowed the TikTok era. So what if the Ice Bucket Challenge happened today, right now, in the full-blown, hyper-optimized TikTok era? How different would it be?
Oh, that's a brilliant thought experiment. And I think the differences would be pronounced, really fascinating to observe. First, the sheer speed of spread would likely be astronomical. TikTok's algorithm is just surgically designed for hyper-fast content distribution to relevant audiences almost instantaneously. So the challenge could go globally viral even faster than it did back in 2014. The reach would likely be even more universal, given TikTok's incredible penetration across diverse demographics, crossing borders and cultures in literally seconds.
And the content formats, would it still be just a simple dump of water, or would we see something far more elaborate?
Probably not just a simple dump of water, no. While the core concept would remain, the content formats would almost certainly be far more elaborate, more creative, more optimized for the platform's specific aesthetic. You'd see much shorter, punchier edits, probably perfectly synced to popular trending sounds or augmented with various TikTok filters and effects. People would incorporate creative transitions, elaborate setups, maybe even more so than Bill Gates' pulley system, and incredibly precise comedic timing, all optimized for TikTok's rapid-fire, endless scroll consumption model. There might be duets, stitches, collaborative content that wasn't nearly as prevalent or easy to create on Facebook back in 2014. The performative aspect would just be amplified by the platform's native tools.
And what about monetization? Would there be new avenues beyond just direct donations to the ALS Association? Like, how would people cash in potentially?
Absolutely. The TikTok ecosystem offers a plethora of new monetization avenues that simply didn't exist or weren't mainstream in 2014. Influencers might be doing it as part of brand-sponsored content deals. Imagine a water bottle company sponsoring an Ice Bucket Challenge video. Seems plausible, right?
Totally plausible.
There could be live streams where people donate directly to the creator or a charity as you dump water on your head, maybe even unlocking new challenges based on donation tiers. Brands might even create their own versions, tying it into their marketing campaigns, perhaps to promote sustainability or a new product. This could mean even more money raised overall, potentially, but also potentially an even greater blurring of the lines between genuine charity, personal branding, and commercial enterprise.
And the performative element we discussed earlier, would that be amplified or diminished, do you think, given TikTok's focus on short, sharp, attention-grabbing content?
Oh, I think it would be significantly amplified. Given TikTok's short-form, high-impact nature and its inherent emphasis on trending sounds, challenges, quick gratification, there would likely be increased pressure for instant participation and spectacle over maybe thoughtful, drawn-out engagement. The visual wow factor, the immediate shareability, the potential for a video to truly blow up would be paramount, potentially even more so than the underlying charitable message for some users. It would be fascinating and perhaps, a little concerning to see how that tension played out. Immense, unprecedented reach versus potentially an even more superficial layer of engagement. It forces us to continually consider how platforms evolve, how our human behavior adapts to those changes in pursuit of viral fame or connection, and maybe what gets lost or gained in the process.
This has been a truly eye-opening deep dive. What started as, a simple, goofy act of dumping ice water on one's head back in the summer of 2014, the Ice Bucket Challenge was far from just a fleeting meme. It served as an undeniable tipping point for modern internet culture. It profoundly influenced the very algorithms that govern our feeds. It reshaped how we approach activism and charity, and it even redefined philanthropy in the digital age.
Indeed. It's a powerful and often surprising reminder, isn't it? That seemingly trivial online phenomena can have these far-reaching, complex, and enduring consequences. Consequences that continue to shape our digital world in ways we often don't fully appreciate until we take a moment to truly deep dive into them. The ripples from that initial splash are still felt today, influencing everything from the content you see in your feed to how charities raise money, how platforms operate.
So as you navigate today's hyper-connected, algorithmically driven world, we want to leave you with this thought. What seemingly simple viral trends do you see happening right now on TikTok, Instagram, wherever that might be, quietly, subtly rewiring the internet for tomorrow? And maybe more importantly, in an age where everything can go viral, how do we ensure that genuine impact consistently outweighs superficial performance? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep asking questions and maybe, just maybe, keep a bucket of ice water handy. You never know what's next.
Woke up late, coffee cold, laptop open, dreams unfold. One idea sparks the flame. Another night, we chase the game. Not